The Guatemalan Civil War started in the 1960s and it would ravage the country for the next 36 years. In total, it's believed that 250,000 people lost their lives. And there were about 600 massacres throughout the country. One such massacre happened in 1982 in the village of Dos Aires. Government troops descended on the village and killed 250 men, women, and children. Only 2 young boys survived, and one of them was 3-year-old Oscar Alfredo Ramirez Castaneda. He was abducted by one of the lieutenants who led the raid. The lieutenant took him home to raise him as his own. The lieutenant would end up dying in a traffic accident, so Oscar was raised by the man's mother. Oscar described his home as a loving household. He was raised to revere the man he thought of as his father. Of course, he was actually a kidnapper that helped slaughter Oscar's family, including his 8 brothers and sisters, as well as his mother. In 1998, Oscar left Guatemala and legally entered the United States. He eventually settled in Farmington, Massachusetts, where he married, had 3 kids, bought a house. His life was going well, but of course, his immigration status made it a little uneasy, so when he got a phone call from a prosecutor in Guatemala, he was a bit nervous. However, he decided to call her back. During this conversation, the prosecutor explained that she had some sensitive news and she was going to email it to him. In the email, she explained that the man who he thought was his father was actually his kidnapper. The prosecutor explained that his village had been massacred and he was one of only 2 survivors who were at the village at the time. She also went on to say that another survivor who was away from the village when the massacre happened, that man happened to be Oscar's father. He was still alive. Oscar was stunned. While he grew up in a country during Civil War, he just thought it involved guerrillas and government troops killing each other. He didn't know that they killed civilians as well. But the news wasn't a complete surprise to him. After all, he'd seen a newspaper article about a decade before discussing the massacre. In the article, it was said that Oscar had been kidnapped, but his family convinced him that it was a leftist propaganda to smear his good name of his father. A year after the revelation, Oscar's real father, Tranquilino Castaneda, flew to the U.S. The father and son were reunited after 30 years apart. Then in 2012, Oscar won political asylum here in the United States.